Hello again, and welcome back. Have you ever been in a situation when you needed to tell somebody that they did something wrong? How did that make you feel? Now, picture that the action made by an employee has turned into something that directly affected your quality of work and life at the company. How do you approach this person? How do you tell him or her how you felt and not create an enemy? These questions are very tough and very common. Giving feedback, especially a negative, or as I like to call it, constructive, is very much an art form. I'm going to give you an example that you can use as a tool in your work life, but remember that it's just a template, and you're going to have to create your own approach based on the situation you're in. Think of a relationship with another person, not just as an employee, not just a colleague, but a human being, as a bank account. Before you can withdraw something from your bank account, you need to first make a deposit. That deposit in a human being world, in the world of relationships, is a positive reinforcement, or simply called positive feedback. What that means on practice is when you see something done well by a colleague, be sure to acknowledge that, and ideally acknowledge publicly so that that person feels seen and appreciated. And please try to do it honestly, not pushing something positive out of a trivial situation. There are tools at some companies that I've worked with that allow you to post a thank you note for a coworker that everyone else will see. Use that if it's available. If you don't have such an option, just a simple thank you message will do. When it comes time to withdraw from your bank account, to provide this person constructive, or some call it negative feedback, at least you have some resources to use. And that's when you need to really think about how much you're withdrawing and whether or not it is worth to withdraw anything at all. If the situation calls for an immediate action, a feedback, then I suggest you do the following. First, gather all the information from all involved parties as to understand the whole picture of what happened. Then, regroup with yourself and think again whether or not it is worth withdrawing from your account. If the answer is still yes, if the situation affected you directly, if it created a destructive environment and made you feel a certain way, think and specify what way that is. Meaning, do the emotional retrospective over what happened with you in that particular situation. Once you've defined all those criteria and know exactly what to say, I suggest you first find a convenient time for both of you to talk. When you do end up having a conversation, ask about how that person is doing. After all, we should assume positive intent in any complex scenario. And only then can you actually sit down, hear the other party out, and share your perception of the situation. See, I always think of this saying that my manager once told me, perception is reality. That means what you perceive is what's real to you, and what the other party perceives is his or her reality. Be aware of that, and be very sensitive to the other person's perception. When you've covered that part and are sure you're on the same page when it comes to the conflict situation, this is where you can use the sandwich approach. First, share the positive part of the situation, the top bread, meaning what you think worked well and was done right. Then get to the meat of the sandwich, where you discuss how that particular situation made you feel, your perception of the situation, and then end with the bottom piece of the bread of the sandwich as well, with a positive and constructive next steps. Things you both can do differently as to avoid this crisis and learn from it. So that's the tool. I know it's counterintuitive and very tough. That's why I reiterate that you must adapt to your own reality and always think twice before giving someone negative, constructive feedback, before withdrawing from that account, as you might just take an overdraft. What I would like to ask from you is please share a successful time you've shared a constructive feedback to someone. What did you do and why do you think it went well? I'll be happy to discuss each individual story with you as I can learn from it as well. Thank you as always, and I'll see you in the next one.